Okay. Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining us today. My name is Joan Hendrano, and I am the chef for Unilever Food Solutions, Middle East, Pakistan, and Sri Lanka. Today, we'll be talking about building a fair kitchen culture together. And before I introduce our guest, I would just like to remind everyone to post your questions in the Q&A box, and we will answer them after the conversation. So joining us today is Chef Luma Makhlouf, the owner, chef, and founder of Maize Tacos. Hi, Chef.
Hi, how are you?
So can you please kindly share a little bit, something about yourself to our audience? Chef Luma? Okay, I think something went wrong from Chef Luma's side. So as we wait for her, so let's just give a little bit of background why we're doing this webinar. And we'll have Chef Luma jump back in when she's ready. So before we deep dive into our conversation, let me just give you, our audience, some context on why this topic is extremely important to talk about. So although it seems that UAE is starting to get back on our feet. People are starting to dine out. However, the Middle East Restaurant Association have forecasted that it will take until the second quarter of 2021 to fully recover. So aside from the pressures of the dining public and government regulations to redesign restaurants, to follow new safety standards, we also need to shed light how this pandemic has also affected the already fragile state or the fragile well-being of the F&B community. So here, oh, Chef Luma's back. Hi, Chef Luma, can you hear us now?
Yes, I'm so sorry. I don't know why it cut off. So sorry about that.
You're a little bit choppy.
Yes, can you hear me? I'm so sorry.
Yes, we can hear you, but the audio is a little bit choppy.
Okay, I'm trying to reconnect. I keep connecting. It keeps cutting me off. I don't know why.
You can reconnect again, and then I'll introduce you again.
Okay, I'll try again.
Yeah, something's wrong with your audio. Okay, so while we wait for Chef Luma, let me just share with you the current situation, what's happening right now. So like what I said, people are feeling the pressure, not only from the government because of the new safety regulations, but also, everything that's happening now is affecting their well-being. So in the next 2 slides, you guys can see some of the outtakes from different interviews asking people and the F&B professionals alike on how they're feeling. So generally, people are still feeling scared, worried, and anxious, and some are quite depressed. So the good thing is that prior to the pandemic, the community has started to openly talk about this. And sadly, it took a number of high-profile suicides for us to be more self-aware on how we are, how we treat our staff, and for society to look at us from a different perspective. So Fair Kitchens is a call for change to raise awareness and engage with people working in the industry. It aims to get the F&B community to recognize these issues, amplify it more, and encourage others to create a healthy working culture that can help the industry attract and retain talent. And it also allows us, or allows careers to thrive by having mentorship, inclusivity and diversity, and shift away from an unhealthy lifestyle and environment that is commonly associated with this industry. So this slide would show you, so this is a survey done by Unilever Food Solutions amongst close to 100 F&B people in Middle East. And half of them were chefs, while the other half consisted of managers or restaurant owners. And in this slide, it's good to see that more than half the managers are aware of what they're feeling and have taken necessary steps or proactive steps to protect themselves. And it's also good to see that most of them don't feel that this is just a media hype, that it is indeed a serious issue that we need to talk about. So however, there's still much need for these topics to be discussed and so that people recognize what they are feeling, how to handle it, and where to seek help. So Chef Luma, we have you back again. So can you please, right, we can hear you clearly now. So Chef Luma Makhlouf, so again, she is the owner, chef, founder of Maize Tacos. She's our guest for today. Chef Luma, can you tell us something about yourself?
Sure, yeah. So I've been in Dubai now for about 11 years. And a few years ago, my husband and I, our passion has always been food, and we wanted to get into F&B. So we studied it a very long time. I'd done culinary school in Dubai, and we decided to embark on a food truck journey, where that has led us to doing pop-ups, and now we have our first flagship store in JLT, our first shop. And what we do is essentially we specialize in extremely authentic, made from scratch, all locally sourced products, especially as well as Mexico ingredients, to make really good Mexican food.
Yeah, and you shared with us prior, to this webinar that you're super passionate about your staff and you fondly call them your family. Can you tell us why this, this creating a fair kitchen culture is extremely important to you and how it became important?
For us starting up, I quit my job to be full-time at Maiz, and my husband works a full-time job and full-time Maiz and our other brands. And we started it as a family business, and it is a family business. We started with one guy, and now he's obviously our head in our kitchen. And every single person that we've hired has started with us mostly from every new milestone of our journey. And that's really, really important. And you're working side by side with these people, and especially as a family business, that's the culture that we want to keep instilled in our teammates as well.
Okay, so moving on to fair kitchens. So building a fair kitchen is really, it doesn't mean that you need to renovate your entire kitchen, rehire, get consultants to create this kind of culture for your, for your establishment. It's simply by following these actions behind the acronym TEAMS. So T stands for talking openly, E stands for exciting passion, while A stands for act as one. You know, since we work in teams, we need to be supportive of each other in order for us to progress together. M stands for make time, and lastly, S stands for say that someone did a good job. So now we're going to kind of structure our conversation with Chef Luma based on this acronyms so that she can share her own examples and so that we can all learn from them and put them easily into action in our own teams. So let's start with T, which stands for talk openly. So Chef Luma, this first one sounds, super simple, but we both know that it's not easily done, as kitchens are generally very fast-paced, tough, and we're always out there to please others, right? So how do you encourage people within your team to raise the flag if something they're feeling is not right?
I think for us, our biggest thing that we're working on constantly is building solid relationships with each staff member and each teammate. And that starts from, building trust and investing time and showing that you genuinely care about each person to the point where, ultimately they trust you and they feel like they have a platform to come and speak to you in a safe environment, in a safe zone. And although it is a very fast-paced workspace and things change all the time and the pressure is always on, you have to build that relationship and work on those relationships so your team can feel safe to come and talk to you about anything.
Right. Can I ask, how many people do you have in your team?
Right now, we are about 20.
Oh, and were there more people in your team approaching you to talk about their mental state during the pandemic compared to, before this whole thing happened?
Yeah, when I said we actually act like a family, we really do. I mean, we, celebrate together, we cry together, we grow together. So fortunately, we have had that bridge between leaders and the staff to be able to talk about anything. But of course, during the pandemic, what we noticed is things were so unpredictable for all of us, not just, lower staff, for leaders, for us as business owners. We had no idea what to expect and what was, coming our way. But some of the things that we did see is some of our teammates didn't feel comfortable coming to work. They just didn't want to. And they had to find that courage and that boldness to be able to come to us and say, I don't feel safe right now. I know you need me. I know, it's important, but that, looking back at it now, I'm happy that they were able to come and, do what's right for them and what they feel safe in doing.
Mm-hmm. So moving on to the next one, which is, hold on, let me just flash the screen. My screen froze. So yeah, excite passion. So it's like reminding yourself why you're doing your job, the why behind the job. So now, Chef, the kitchen organization, especially the restaurants, are designed and they say that it performs best if the organization is leaner, and which means that we would have limited room for promotions unless, of course, a restaurant would expand. So how do you motivate people to stay on and remain proactive and passionate with their jobs?
Well, we have a big vision, my husband and I, for our tiny little homegrown concept. We want to be big and great and do a lot of amazing things. And the first, touch point that they have with us while it's during an interview is, I want a superstar that wants to stay with us for the next 10 years. So what do you want to do? Where do you see yourself? Do you want to work in a kitchen if you're front of house? Do you want to work vice versa? Do you want to work at events? So that first initial step, making sure that they understand that there is growth. We want to grow and invest in every single one of our employees. I think that's the start. And also, celebrating growth together, not just as a leadership team. I mean, that you would not succeed without your team, right? So celebrating them and allowing them to be involved in our, big decisions and things that's going to shift the business. I think that's really, really important. And I think big teams can do it. I think little teams can do it. Startups, people who've been around for a while, you can find ways to invest in your team. Of course, it's really important to have a career path. Every industry needs it. Every employee needs it, to know that, they don't have to stay in the same exact position for 2 years, 3 years. In our case, our stewards now are call me ones, call me twos. My front of house team, one of them will move to another kitchen. The other will go to a new location. They'll have teams under them. It's all about motivating them, keeping them excited, because that's when they'll most probably work at their best, and they'll have that best performance. So always letting them know that there is a solid future for them in the organization is important.
So you mentioned looking for the superstars, right? So, and we all know that hiring the right person is crucial. So what are the qualities or values that's important to you, as you interview a person, what says to you has superstar potential?
I think it really does go down to personality. You could have been working in a kitchen for 10 years and you're not a team player. It's not going to work. Or you don't share the same values as the business shares. You don't want to work in this kind of kitchen. Maybe you want to work in a more commercial, corporate-y kind of kitchen. In our case, we just look for those traits, that hunger, that motivation, passion, excitement, someone that wants to really kind of imprint themselves onto the business itself. I think that's really, really exciting when you see that, when they ask you for more responsibility, when they say, oh, it's too easy, give me something else. I think that's really what makes a superstar.
Right. And nowadays, it seems like it's getting harder and harder for us to look for these kinds of people, as we all know that less and less people want to get involved in the hospitality industry because of the long hours, and the pay and the hard work, unsociable hours. So yeah, it has become really, really tough.
Yeah.
So moving on to A, which means which stands for Act as One. I've always said, although this pandemic has hit the industry in the most unexpected way, it also made the industry put its best foot forward. Like we've seen, a lot of stories where in restaurants, even though they don't have business, they've been giving out free meals for those people who are in need. And you hear about staff, helping out to keep the business open. Can you share with us how you have weathered this storm and how your team pitched in, to keep the business going?
Yeah, I mean, we had some tough conversations during those first few weeks that led to months, and now here we are. But we had a lot of tough conversations. My husband and I personally did not think we would be where we are, and we didn't think we would survive this. It was our first few months of operations in our new branch, and the team, some of them were fairly new. Fortunately, they're all with us still, which we are so grateful to be in this position. And like I said, some asked to be on unpaid leave. They weren't comfortable to come back in at that time, especially with transportation. We were trying to find transport close to the restaurant. Accommodation close to the restaurant, just trying to accommodate any way we can. And front of house, it was very tough because there was no dine-in. So we did face a lot of tough decisions. Some of them who did go on unpaid leave as well, just because there was no business at the time, are back with us now and are stronger than ever and are leaders within the organization. And I think it's because we're fortunate enough to work on the line side by side with these amazing young employees. And I think that in our case, fortunately, they're inspired by the fact that me and my husband are always there. You can always find one of us in the kitchen. You can always find one of us talking to customers. During the pandemic, myself, I was delivering our DIY boxes to everybody, and I just had a baby. So I think in our case, when your team can see that you're in it with them and you're showing to them and you're conveying that to them, that, when we win, we all win. But when we're struggling, we're still going to all stick side by side. And, another example of that is very simple, just teammates supporting other teammates and, the guys that were trying to find things to do. So they were maybe helping front of house and vice versa. So yeah, it was just all about just hanging in there, I guess.
Yeah, I think we should also need to shed some light to some of our audience who are not from here, that the situation in UAE is slightly different in the sense that most people working in the hospitality industry are expats, right? So, if a restaurant decides to cease operations temporarily or permanently, wages are reduced, we don't get any, extra funding from or support. And what's worse, you have no choice but to fly back home to your home country. And because of, and it's not a choice that we want to make, but because there's visa restrictions, and it's also quite expensive to stay behind and look for another job. So all of this adds to the anxiety and despair to what we are all facing here. I'm not saying it's tougher here, but it is super tough.
Yeah, and there's a pandemic, like most of them can't fly back, the airports were closed. I mean, it was a lot. It was a lot on, a lot of industries, but when restaurants close down, we can't work from home. We can't
exactly
do things. So it's a lot. I feel like the industry has gone through so much these last 6 months, and yeah, it's just interesting to see how people have adapted to it and have grown from it.
Right. So moving on to letter M, which is making time. And so this means like you want to do something for yourself and of course do something for the F&B community in return. So given how things are happening so fast in this industry, there seems to be always a lack of time for individuals to recharge, not only physically, but also find time to improve one's skill set or to learn something new. And for owners or managers like yourself, finding time to develop staff is also pretty tough. So most of us are always, when we get hired, we're always expected to be plug and play, once we get on board. So you've shared also in Mai's Tacos, most of the promotions happen in within. And how did you go about making time to empower people and prepare them for bigger roles?
So training, shadowing, whether it's me, my husband, or Joe, one of our chefs as well, just training the staff like crazy. And that just means, being in the grit of things and being hands-on. Of course, we have our books in place and we have our procedures and we have our processes, but people learn best when they see and when they do. And that's why it's very easy for us to promote from within internally, because if you see that somebody wants to learn, whether it's because they were motivated by commercials or they really want to grow their skill set, that's when you zone in on it. And when you invest, start by investing 1 hour a week in that person, or you have a leader invest 1 hour a week. I think that's really important. And it can also kind of overlap within other roles completely. Like my front of house showed interest during event season that they wanted to work the events. And, once we were low staffed or we had we had a lot of all female catering last season, for example, in Abu Dhabi and other Emirates, and they wanted to train, and they trained for 2 weeks like crazy. And they were managing their own events as, these two really cool girls. And, they were front of house for years, but, they were cooking at home all the time. It was their passion. And it's something they, found the courage to ask us that they could learn. And during the downtime, why not? Why not go into the kitchen for a few hours and just learn as much as you can? And now they're always supporting us in different things. And one of them became one of our managers that handles events as well. So it's really a beautiful thing to see.
Yeah. And I always say, like, building this kind of culture, or if you want to learn something, you have to be, as an employee, don't wait for the manager to say, oh, I have something planned for you. But you also have to tell them, they're not mind readers. You also have to tell them what you want to happen in your career, make things happen also for yourself, right? Yeah.
And you have to have those conversations, constantly have those conversations. Sometimes, again, we all come from different cultures and different countries. We might not be comfortable what I noticed with my teammates is, maybe they're a lot more shy than I am. They're not as vocal, not as outspoken. So I need to, poke and prod and just try to get as much out of them as I can, because I do want them to be as happy as they can be and as comfortable as possible every day, so that they can perform at their best ability, of course.
Mm-hmm. And the last in the acronym is S, which, say a good job. So I think as a start for, a lot of people out there, this would be one of the simplest things to do, but it has such a huge impact to any individual. So Chef Luma, you've shared with us an interesting program that you have set up in Mai's Tacos that have worked extremely well for you.
Yeah, we launched a program called, when our staff got bigger and we had, all these amazing people with us, called the Maizer of the Month. And I grew up in the States where, you always see those signs in restaurants or in shops that say employee of the month. And I never knew how this guy or girl got there, but I was always like, oh, that's really cool. That person must have did something awesome, or they're always working hard. You see it in movies and everything. So we didn't do this just to give away a bonus or to give away a prize. We wanted to start a program from within where we incentivize them. Everybody wants to be to compete. Good competition is really, really good. And for them to appreciate and acknowledge one another. So the Maizer of the month is not chosen because me or my husband or one of the leaders decided that this person did better than the other or shown, something, very special. They actually nominate who they think did something outstanding or, did something extra special. Even if it's a little tiny act of kindness or something grand. And we tally those nominations and we see which one won. But it's really about them acknowledging and appreciating one another so that they can, work better as a team, and we can reward it, of course.
Mm-hmm. Right. And it really feels nice, and you feel extra special that that award or that recognition came from the people that you work with. So, how actors are, they say the SAG Awards more important than the Oscars because coming from, your friends and your peers. So yeah, that's super positive. And I'm sure, if you know that it came from the people that you work with, it becomes natural for you, and it's kind of like paying it forward in a sense that you as somebody who won, you want to create that kind of positivity towards other people as well.
Yeah, and you want them to win next time, right? So you will start acknowledging what they did that month, and think of what you're going to say and who you're going to nominate and why. And it's not just the name. Like, we won't accept just a name. You have to tell us why you nominated this person. And what did they do that impressed you or, made you feel safe or comfortable or helped you work better together? That's, I think, the most important thing as well.
Yeah. And also what's really interesting is that, like going back to the first letter, which is T, talking openly, if people are still shy to bring up if they have like some sort of negative issues, starting with something positive such as this would help people to talk more, be more open, be more vocal, as you said. So it's a really, really program.
Thank you. Thanks so much. I feel like there's a fine line between trying to be, a manager or a leader and trying to connect to your staff. But I think, what we've done and we feel is most appropriate right now with the growth of our team. Every week we're hiring, thankfully, and we're growing and we're expanding, but building that relationship and showing them that, no, you can have both. You can have a friend and I can know about your family and you can feel safe and you can talk and you can tell us your concerns, because like going back to the pandemic, it's a very, very sensitive time right now, so establishing those relationships and talking openly with your teammates and your leaders is what I think would get you through it.
Okay. So I would just like to add that, I just want to reiterate that building us a fair kitchen culture is not the sole responsibility again of the owner or the manager. It takes everyone, in the organization. Each of us has a huge part to play. So don't wait for things to happen for you, but start making things happen. So before we answer questions on the Q&A box, I just want to flash once again the acronym so people will remember what it stands for. Here we go. Okay. Chef Luma, thanks so much. Let me just check the Q&A box if somebody posted a question. Not yet. I think we're super clear.
I hope so. We're open to questions though.
Yeah, but let me ask you, like, how are you guys right now? I mean, how are things, going since things are starting to reopen? You said that all of your staff are back. How's business?
Well, we're doing better than ever. Thank God. We're very, very blessed. We're very appreciative for the position that we're in. Maiz has been, as a brand, has been around for 3 years, although the actual location in JLT was quite new during the pandemic. But I think those brands that persevered and they just kept on going, they didn't give up at that time. And, a couple bucks here and there went a long way at that time. Now we're doing pretty well. We're in a cloud kitchen. We just relaunched our catering. We're moving into a new location. So thankfully we're doing okay.
Yeah. And you mentioned cloud kitchen. So again, that requires a lot of training as well, because it's more technical, right? It's more, you need people to be more consistent with kitchen operations and stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, municipality and DHA is on everybody's case, even us personally. Like, we have had many, many visits. Thankfully, everything went great. But, you need to follow the guidelines. Yesterday on Dubai Eye, I was listening to the radio actually, and they closed down no restaurants yesterday. I mean, no restaurants or SMEs.
That's nice.
So that was the first day since COVID, since the pandemic and how it disrupted, the economy. That was the first day they didn't close or fine any businesses. So it was so refreshing to hear and see. And, you have to follow the guidelines. I mean, there's no way around it. And implementing the new processes, procedures that they are asking of you in real time, you got to do it. That's just how it is.
Okay, so some people have posted some questions. So the first one is not exactly a question, but Yasmin saying that I'm super proud of you, Mom Luna. You're a role model to many of us.
Oh, wow. That's so nice. Thank you.
Yeah, that's sweet. So the next question is, he's asking, since COVID, how restaurants operate now? Will this carry over post-COVID? So
I definitely think some of the things that we've implemented, like the barcode menus, I mean, I prefer them now. I think COVID has disrupted the way that we, interact with one another. I don't know if I want to touch another menu again, now, just because of that whole toll that it's taken on us. The barriers in between restaurants, the barriers in between tables, the distance. I don't know if that would stay. I don't see that staying post-COVID, but in terms of capacity, putting more than 8 people on a table, I don't think that will go away. I really believe that will stay for a while. And of course, the total capacity of the restaurant. If you walk past any restaurant these days, you see there's a big sign in the front door that says maximum 19 people, maximum 20 people.
Yeah.
I think that will also stay for quite a while. And of course, all of the new guidelines inside of the kitchen.
I hope things would change, once the vaccine is open to everybody, because restaurants survive because of people, the number of people coming in, right? And with all these limitations, we're not getting that right number of people. So
No.
Question is, how would you encourage other business owners to do the same with having an open space to talk? What advice would you give, especially larger organizations? Yeah, which I think that's true. It's especially tougher for larger kitchens or larger restaurant groups.
I think that the most important part of this is for people to use their voice to be able to start talking about a taboo topic that no one really talks about, which is why I was so on board with this. And I was so excited to be part of this solution, because no one really talks about this, how we nurture these young teams and how we take care of them, and how we make sure the right stuff is put in place so that they can feel safe and comfortable, because there's a lot of, really tough things happening out there. The overtime, the over hours, the overworking them, the no holidays, the no breaks. Like, there's a lot of sketchy stuff happening. And I think restaurant owners, chefs, leaders in the industry, suppliers, everyone needs to start chatting about this. And it can be a really, a casual conversation, and just maybe, giving examples of how you work within your kitchen and what you would like to see different. And, maybe you can tag somebody actually and say, show me what you guys are doing, or like make it a learning experience.
Right. And I think, like, for me personally, because I've been part of a smaller group, and I've also worked in a hotel, so big and small, huge difference. Like, you feel the sense of family with a smaller restaurant, of course, and you're closer together. But I think for larger organizations, you can start with your small teams and would gradually just spread out. And I think in larger organizations, I think it's really important that management also believes in this cause, because it's like top down, everything that they believe, the culture that they create, it's going to trickle down to the smaller teams. But within your own team, you can start this movement, you can start this culture by, talking more to your team members, be more open to them, take time to mentor, because mentorship is something personal, right? It's not like a mandate, for you to mentor someone. You can take this on your own and help someone to thrive in their role. So yeah, so it's not impossible. That's what I'm saying, to do it in a larger kitchen or a larger organization.
No,
so
definitely.
Sorry, go ahead, Chef Luma. Sorry.
It's definitely not difficult to do it. I mean, just something that we just did is just printing out teams and pasting it in a few different places, and that will remind everybody, about how they can feel safe in the organization, because these points are put in place, and I think that is part of a movement, and it has to be implemented from the leaders. And to start doing, I know it's not easy to do it all at once, but just making little changes will go a long way.
True. So we have a last question here. So do you think people, I think it's more a question on how things are in the industry. So do you think people are more comfortable eating at home, or they're bored and are willing to take risk and eat out?
For us, we're definitely seeing, just based on our location, that people are a lot more comfortable eating out. There are certain demographics that are kind of dealing with it a little bit differently. We're seeing that, so that we have a big group, a chunk of people that won't use, for example, utensils. So they insist on using plastic or takeaway or wood or whatever it is that we have. Whereas some people don't care at all. They come in every single day. We have regulars that come in every single day. And on the weekends, we are pretty full. So we've seen that actually, based on our few months of operation before COVID, we have seen a definite increase in dine-in and in delivery. So I don't know if everyone is seeing this. I know in delivery, the numbers have, gone through the roof overall, but we are fortunate enough to have dine-in as well. And hopefully with time, people will just feel a bit more comfortable, at least once a week or twice a month, to go out of their comfort zone and have a meal outside rather than delivery.
Yeah, I think especially now, people will be more confident to dine out, because you can now, eat outside because the weather's cooler. You have more space in between tables. So yeah, I'm not saying it's 100%, it's 100% safe, but at least, you have that space, and yeah, it's safer, than during the hot months wherein you have to really go in and be in an air-conditioned space. So yeah, Well, we're all super optimistic, and you know, with Fair Kitchens movement, we hope, you know, to promote this kind of culture in the restaurant. I mean, in the hospitality industry, we all need it now. People are really anxious, you know. But however, I see that a lot of people are also very optimistic that things will, you know, go back to normal. So before we end, Chef Luma, do you have any last words?
Just thank you so much for allowing me to be part of it. It's really, really something I look forward to, and I can't wait to see it grow and for more people to hopefully be open and share this information with as many people as you can, so that we can start working on hopefully, you know, this open platform to chat about fair kitchens.
Right. Thank you so much, Chef Luma. I'm looking forward to your tacos again. So thank you. Thanks for joining us. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye. Bye, everyone.